My name is John Buss. I'm age 50 and I own 2 tanks. Technically they're not tanks, they're armoured full-tracked carriers, but to the general public they're tanks. At the moment I'm doing a documentary, or the subject of a documentary, and about the tanks and about setting up a business with them.
Hang over here. Yeah, maybe that's a little bit too tough. You might if I bring that out a little.
Well, this is an FE 432 armoured personnel carrier. It's actually a 436 because it's been modified to be a mobile armoured command post. It's an armoured tracked vehicle. It's technically not a tank because it hasn't got a turret with a gun on top of it. It was built in 1965 and weighs 15.5 tonnes. And it was ex-British Army. It didn't do much in its working life except sit in storage, waiting for a war with the Soviet Union, where it was going to be sacrificed on the plains of Eastern Germany against the hordes of communist armoured vehicles and armoured divisions. It's very easy to drive, relatively easy to maintain, although very expensive because obviously the parts now are very difficult to get hold of. Well, the initial plan was to just go and have a look. I had already bought stuff from the auction site, the ordinary stuff such as tarpaulins and other military equipment.
And how did you get them over here?
They came on Swansea Cork ferries, the last ferry before they went out of business. Thank God they did. I didn't know they were going to go out of business, but I think I got them delivered from Norfolk to Swansea docks, and then I got them on the next available ferry, the 2 of them. With the other machine, had to drive them on and drive them off. Now, stand back, this is heavy. Well, we drove them on last, so no one saw them, and they were right at the back of the machine after all the public had got on. But in the morning, I was allowed to go down 10 minutes before everybody else so we could warm them up. And so we had them going, and you heard the noise they make, and they were at the back, and all the fire doors were open, and the public came down to their cars, and there were just people queuing up to take photographs and selfies and stuff like that. It was great crack. This is not like.
So would you explain exactly what you intend to do with the tanks for a business?
Right, well, what I'm basically going to do is use them for events. I'm hoping to advertise them to corporate bodies, companies, organisations, and take them out and take lads out and girls for an afternoon or even a whole evening or overnight event involving camping, playing at being soldiers, getting themselves damp, wet, dirty, muddy, stressed, tired, and a nice breakfast afterwards. You can't really do a system where you spend hours and hours driving around a field with lots and lots of different people, because you will get wear and tear on the vehicles. As a one-off, as a special birthday present for someone, or a special event or something, or if someone offered me enough money, then obviously you'd do that. I have had the Vehicle Standards Agency have approached me and said if they had to give people driving lessons in tanks, perhaps we'd be able to do that. But I think that's a bit far-fetched, especially since that's a works vehicle. So in Ireland, it's classed as a works vehicle, so you only need to be able to drive a tractor to drive it, which is ridiculous. But that's the law.
How does it actually feel driving the tank? Like, what's the experience like from your point of view?
It's good fun.
Yeah.
It actually is good fun. Now, I think if you were driving them day after day, it would just become a job. It's because it's unusual. It is good fun, and they are difficult. I mean, the tanks are very easy to drive because they just 2 levers: pull a lever to go right, pull a lever to go left, pull the levers back to stop, let them go to go. It's very easy to drive, but it's actually quite mentally challenging to drive it well and drive it safely. And there's a little bit more, just the way it's big, and you get the feeling of it's a big machine. And it's noisy, and it's loud, and it's uncomfortable. So it's a challenge. So if you have a tank, you need a handbook for it. And you can get off the Army, off Ministry of Defence, a whole range of handbooks for every tank. This is not for the one we filmed just now, the FV432. This is for a 434. And they're just brilliant. All the Army, everything the Army do is so thorough. It tells you how to run the tank, how to find out faults, how to do the basic maintenance, and all the various bits and pieces you have on it. And you can get them for everything, absolutely everything. You know, I can show you how to set the tank up to take it swimming. If you're going to drive a tank or own a tank, you've got to have the proper equipment and clothing to wear. So that's a standard issue British Army drivers' coveralls or overalls. And they're fireproof to a point to stop you, give you a chance to get out of the vehicle without burning up if it caught fire. And in wartime, you'd be expected to wear standard British Army multi-terrain pattern camouflage. This is the very latest pattern of camouflage. So in wartime, one of those vehicles will be equipped with a light machine gun firing 7.62mm light machine gun rounds. They're not live. And if you manage to get hold of one, most tank crews would try and ditch the light machine gun and get themselves a 50 caliber heavy machine gun to mount on the roof. No, here's one, but that's 50 caliber heavy machine gun. And 50 caliber round will go about 5 miles before it drops to the ground, and it will go through block work. So it'll go right through one side of a house and come out the other. So every crewman would be issued with this. So it says helmet. It's a ballistic helmet, but it won't stop a bullet. So a bullet would go straight through that. Oh, it's gone. You can see it's gone mouldy in storage. They tend to go mouldy, but you can just clean them off. And then there's his radio set. If I can get it in there. But there's your headphones. They sit on nicely, and I can't hear a word anyone would say now. The helmet clips over the top. It's the most attractive thing. My dad did 24 years in the army, and then he became a music teacher after that. So when I was born and grew up, he was a teacher, he wasn't in the army. But every year he would go to the commemoration of the Korean War in London in St Paul's Cathedral, so I'd go along, tag along to that, because he was quite relatively famous from the Korean War as well. And his regiment were the Gloucestershire Regiment. They in April 1951, they fought an entire Chinese army to a standstill. 600 of them were killed. 600 were either injured, killed, or captured, and most of them captured. And my dad spent 2.5 years in a communist Chinese prisoner of war camp afterwards. He was the drum major of the regiment, so he was in charge of the drums and bugles. And their job was to protect headquarters in wartime. But near the end of the battle, the Chinese didn't have radios or high-tech equipment, so they used trumpets and bugles to signal between units and signal attacks and signal retreat and all this sort of stuff. And so the noise when they were on their final hill being surrounded after 4 days, the noise was terrible. So the commanding officer had said, do we have a British bugle that could reply to this noise? And so my dad was 6'4", wouldn't have one of his drummers play the bugle, so he took the bugle off him and stood outside his slit trench and played the bugle. And he played every single call in the British Army bugle manual from start to finish in order, except that he played the last post at the end. People know the last post from funerals, and then he played the long reveille, which is the most complex bugle call you can do. And he played it in the direction they thought the relief was coming in. There was supposed to be a relief column fighting its way through to them, but it didn't get through to them. And when he finished, allegedly, everything was quiet. All the gunfire had stopped, everything had stopped, and all the Chinese bugle and trumpet calls had stopped, and there was total silence for a minute or two. And then the battle started again. And then a short while later, they decided to try and get off the hill, so the wounded were abandoned in the care of a medical officer, and they all tried to escape off the hill, but most of them got captured, including my dad. But yeah, it's quite a famous story, and I have pictures of it as well.